select File, followed by Make a Copy. It'll ask you to retitle it. Please title it something other than Copy of Budget Project. Right? The only reason I say that is because every time I give this instruction, regardless of the class, regardless of the location, people submit their work, and almost all of them say Copy of Budget Project. I'm like, whose is this? I have no idea. All right, so change it to your initials, your last name. I don't know, whatever you think. I mean, just something as a distinguishing factor. All right, and then save it somewhere. This assumes that you have a Google account. If you don't, I don't want to say you have to make one, but if you don't have a Google account and you get in here, but you do have Microsoft, you could download it as an Excel file and do it that way, right? So it doesn't have to be on, internet-based. You could do it right on Excel, right? If you don't have Google or Microsoft, I don't know that I have an answer for you, right? Because most people have, here, if you're here enrolled at this school, you have Microsoft in some capacity, all right? I suppose you can pull it down as a CSV and then dump it into Pages if you have a Mac. That's all my way of saying, if you don't have a Google account, maybe just get a Google account. Right? But make a copy, call it what you want. Again, like I said, can is me. Make a copy. And now you have your own to work off of, all right? When it comes time to submit your work, you're going to hit Share. Then under General Access, you're going to change it from Restricted to Anyone with the Link. And you're going to say, instead of Viewer, you're going to say Editor. All right? And then once you do that, you copy this link, it says link copied, and submit that on Brightspace. All right? That's how I'll be able to access your stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare with everybody trying to share it with me directly. It's either going to come through or not. If people share it, you can see my Gmail account is right here. That's the only way I get access to it, is if it goes to my Gmail. But most people here, you're going to assume that it's the college email and send it to the wrong place, and it's just going to be a disaster. So I recommend, or I more than recommend, I require this approach so that I'll always have access. The reason I want Editor is so that, you guessed it, so that I can edit, right? If you made a glaring mistake, I can make a comment saying, in this cell, you made a mistake, you want to change this to that, all right? Instead of me having a back and forth with you on email, which could work, it could be perfectly fine, but there's going to be that turnaround time. And also, it's nice to know exactly what I'm talking about. If I say, oh, on the third tab, you want to fix your computation for whatever, you might be like, okay, cool, I don't know what you're talking about. But at least if you see the comment in there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's the rationale for that. All right, I'm just going to undo all this because I don't even want people editing this one. All right, this is mine. I'm even going to say restricted. Done. All right, so assignment. You click on it. It brings you to the second tab, but you could also just navigate at the bottom here. You know, instead of going table of contents, you just click on assignment. Tells you what you're going to do, right? And it gives you some resources for research, which is why I'm letting you go early, because this is not as conducive over, like by using a phone. Like, you kind of need a computer to do it, right? You can make it happen on a phone. It's going to be tougher. If you have a tablet, you do it on a tablet. But on a computer, navigating through Google Sheets or even Excel on a phone is not the easiest thing in the world, right? Especially when you want to make edits. All right. So these sites are going to help you research different things. All right. And you can make this as personal or impersonal as you want. You're going to create a budget here. It's a financial life plan. The theme is that you just graduated college, you're going out into the real world. You need to develop a plan that's going to help you navigate through the first year of your life, personal post-school life. You need to develop a plan that'll help you navigate through the first year of your post-school life. Well, I don't know why I wrote that twice. Well, whatever. Different problem for a different day. I would be shocked, honestly, if there were no typos here. Requirements: you got to get a job, find a place to live. See below. Complete each tab of the spreadsheet to create a monthly budget. Your budget must contain each of the following. And this is where, it may not be as personal to you. You might be like, well, I don't need a car. I live in, downtown Manhattan or even downtown White Plains. I don't know. You might be able to navigate around without using a car. And you'd be like, well, why do I need a car? I could ride my bike everywhere. It doesn't matter. I'm making it it becomes too easy. I'm making it a requirement of the assignment. They have a mortgage, car loan, and student loan. All right. Basic living expenses. All right. So you need to have heating, electricity, things like that. All stuff you have to research. I put no shortcuts there. So, and what I mean by that is don't assume that you're going to get a nice large inheritance or the bank made an error in your favor and they accidentally deposited $1 million in your account, which would never happen because of FDIC. And also, you're not going to become a music icon, sports legend, things like that. You're not going to win the lottery. This is basic budgeting, right? So I tried to get each sport covered here in case anybody was wondering. I've been doing this budget project for a bunch of years now. It used to be, unless your name is Derek Jeter, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, or Brett Favre, I updated it to be with the current times. Aaron Rodgers is still the highest paid per year quarterback in the NFL, according to the research I did an hour before class. So in theory, that's still current, even though I think Patrick Mahomes should be getting more. But the more specialized the career choice, the more education is required. I say usually because not always. If I knew all the answers in that area, I might not be here. So I have no idea. I know for a doctor, you're going to spend a lot of years in school, right? To go out and become an attorney, a trial lawyer. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just your basic 4 years and then law school and that's it. I don't know if there's any specialization that you have to do beyond that. But you'll research all that, right? Now, if you have a current career, and we're here at night for a reason in a lot of cases. You're working somewhere, and that's where you plan on working. You just use that, or what you're aspiring to do yourself. That's up to you. So Indeed.com, so you find the listing, education necessary. That's a little bit more of a gray area because you'll have to do it in really general terms. It's not like you can put in all your personal information and say, I want to be a doctor, and it'll say, okay, this is what you're going to have in debt at the end of it. They don't know how much you can contribute to your own education and things like that. I found some sites that talk about education necessary to get a job, tuition and average debt of graduates. You can use this information. I have a couple links there. You'll need to know the interest rates. Right? So for interest rates for student loans, savings accounts, loans, everything, I found that bankrate.com is probably the best way to go. It may not be current and tailored to your individual finances, but it gives you a pretty good, general understanding of what the interest rates are. You find a place to live, so you can do that. Oh, I didn't put the link. Huh. What do you know? Well, I'll fix that later because I wanted to have. Oh no, actually, I did put a link. It's just more general. I just got it from Investopedia. All right, so Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, Foreclosure.com. Any car, any house, whatever makes sense. Now, your job needs to be able to support that, right? So, if you put in high school teacher, and then for the car you put a Maserati, and for the house you put a mansion, you're probably not going to afford it. I can promise you that. Just I'm assuming just the one job, but I work two jobs, so if you want to do a second one, you can. So just build up the income. All right. So you find a place to live, living expenses. I found this site, it's pretty good. Cost of living. And by pretty good, I mean it's actually really, really good. I'm just hoping it opens right now because it tells you like all the little things. Yeah, it's probably not going to open. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if technology just worked all the time correctly? It's thinking hard up there. Could be a me problem though. I do have in my Chrome, I have about 1,400 tabs open. So that could be the issue. Oh, it jumped. Just when I was about to quit, it jumped. Sucked me right back in. I really want to show you this because it's really cool. All right, I'll let that think for now. And then you use your finance app to determine the monthly repayment of your student loans. Right, that's pretty much what we just talked about. And then you develop a salary schedule. This we'll talk about in more detail next class because I need you to have some of this information before I can talk about a salary schedule and loan repayment schedules. But I have a tab for that. And then a couple of assumptions that you need to make. Dang, I should say 30. I don't know why it doesn't. All right, so definitely don't make a copy of this file right away because I got to make a couple edits. But mortgages are going to have a repayment of 30 years. Car loans, we're going to assume 3 years. And student loans, we're going to say 10 years. All right, so we're not going to go crazy with any refinancing and stuff like that. All right. Let me open a Chrome. Of course. Why? Why not, right? All right, so you select location. It's probably going to take like an hour. Let's say, I'll say White Plains, New York. And it breaks it down pretty nicely. If you want a pint of beer, $5. Right? Not at the supermarket. Like this is talking about if you want to go out for a drink. All right. Milk, $3.83 per gallon. I think that's a little on the low side, but you never know. It gives you good rough estimates of how much all this stuff costs. Transportation. I mean, I don't know that you need to worry too much about the grocery bill. I mean, in real life, you absolutely have to worry about the grocery bill. Food is very expensive. I'm thinking more like transportation, utilities, your basic electricity and stuff like that. You can go with these average values, even though, depending on the fitness club you go to, $98.33, that could be a little high, it could be a little low. All right? It's a little low if you're talking about like Lifetime or something like that. But if you're talking about one of the, boutique-y kind of places, then it could be a little cheaper. An apartment in city center, about $2,000 a month. All right, if you want to buy it, things like this. But remember, you have to actually figure out the mortgage payment. So I wouldn't rely on this, but it will give you a pretty good idea of whether you're in the right neighborhood for where you choose to live. All right. And of course, lettuce. Can't forget lettuce. That's $2.29 per pound. I'm sorry, per head. Eggs, $5.29. I think that's still on a little bit on the low side. I feel like it's closer to $7.99. But it's given average prices, and it gives pretty good estimates. I would say live by yourself only because this project gets about 10 times more difficult if you incorporate more people into it. I've done it before where I would say, like I did it as a group assignment where two people are roommates and the numbers just got out of whack and it ended up being way more complicated, right? So, that's one thing that we kind of lose, like if you're living with somebody else and things like that, those factor into the expenses. But But yeah, you can establish it that it's like you and whoever you're living with. But I just to make it a little bit of an easier project for you, I would say just keep it individual. All right. So then you'll go through each tab. These are all suggestions. You don't have to get a life insurance policy. All right. I mean, it's probably a good idea to in real life, but for the purposes of this project, these are just suggestions. Some of them are more than suggestions. You can't have a car without insurance. I mean, you can, but you're gonna run into trouble down the line. Car registration, property taxes, and stuff like that. Charitable contributions, that's optional, because if you don't have the money, like, you're not really going to be willing to donate it.
I don't know if it mentioned what about tax.
So taxes, you'll just do a rough estimate of what your net pay will be. All right. So don't worry. I mean, I have a whole lesson later on in the course on like how to file taxes and stuff like that. But it's not. Let's just put it this way. I'm not a tax guy. Like, I'm not the guy you go to get your taxes done and finds all the deductions and stuff for you. I could show you the simple stuff. All right, so just assume a reasonable tax rate, 30%.
What about based on where you live?
Say it again.
What about based on what you say you live at?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do, especially for homeowners insurance. Yeah, and in most listings, taxes, property taxes, most listings will have an estimate of what the property taxes are, so you could pull that from there. But in terms of income tax, like, just a rough estimate is fine, because I don't want to get into that too much. But I set this spreadsheet up so that when you put in the annual expense, so if you know, like, whatever you research, let's say it only tells you per year, you could put in, okay, it's $300 per year, and I have it set to automatically compute what that would be for per month, and it'll total it out, and then all the way at the end, when you get to balance, it'll put that expense in there, whatever the total is for each one. So this balance sheet is going to be computed for you based off of what you do for all this stuff. So I did give the option for full-time job, part-time job. So let's say you make $50,000 a year in the full-time job, and let's say $10,000 a year, for the part-time job. All right, then you just select that that's annually, and then it'll give you the sum. All right, so, and then that would go into your balance sheet as your sources of income. All right. Semi-regular expenses. This is where it gets a little fun, fun and tricky. Like, maybe you don't, let's say you get a brand new car, you're probably only on the hook for oil changes. And what, you're gonna do that like once every 3 or 4 months? So I would say, all right, car maintenance, $75 for an oil change at Valvoline down the street, and you do that quarterly. All right. That'll compute how much that is per month, and that'll put that in the balance sheet. And then once you do that, all that stuff, get that information, your conclusion paragraph is going to come from, so you'll just write it in that field. Write a paragraph discussing the viability of your life choices. Is your selected lifestyle sustainable? Why or why not? I can tell you that if this number here, this balance number, is positive, then it's a good budget. That means you're finishing each month with a surplus. And so that money can be put into a savings account and invested. Like, that's what you would have left over. Right? If this number is negative, then you're in the red and you have a problem. So that's not sustainable. Right? But you could end up in that gray area where your balance is like $1. $10, $5, whatever. That, to me, is not sustainable, but you may think of it in another way. If I see a balance, even if it's positive, if it's too close to zero, all I'm thinking to myself is, all right, this is fine, but if anything goes wrong, I'm screwed. Right? Massive trouble with the car, some sort of liability issue. You know, like anything. Like, I mean, I don't want to go too far down a dark path, but like, you get fired from a job, right? Things like that. If I'm too close to zero, even if it's positive, I'm not happy with this. I want the balance to be, I want it to be nice and positive. All right. So you'll have to do all this research. It will go faster than I'm making it seem, because I'm like, you got to do this and you got to do that. The biggest computations are going to happen here, and you might struggle with that, but I'll help you. All right. This is more collaborative. All right. So it's not like you go home, do this on your own, and have it in by I think I put a due date of the 18th of April. It should be in Brightspace. I give you plenty of time to do this, but I'm also giving you the opportunity to say, hey, can you look this over? Like, do you see any glaring errors before I turn it in? The sooner you have something in terms of a tangible product, the earlier I can look it over and give you some good feedback. All right? And that's one of the reasons why I want you to have it set to editor, so that I can go in there and just do a quick comment, just pop in a thought. And you'll see if I say, thought. I put the comment in. You see at the bottom of the screen here, the tab, it no longer just says monthly fixed expenses. It has a little 1 next to it. That means that there's one comment. All right. So then I just have to figure out where that comment is. But it's easy enough to get to. All right. So then you hover over it. Sorry. It tells you that I put the comment in B4. You're like, okay, cool. Congratulations. But if you hit see all, it tells you the running list of the comments. All right. So you would just look at the bottom of your tab, see if I put any comments in there, and then act on those comments. Don't just ignore them. I can tell you, at least the way I do things, is if I comment on something, I may say it in the nicest possible way, but it's basically me saying, fix it or you're going to lose credit. All right. So if you see a comment, you want to act on the comment. Don't just ignore it. Don't just say, oh, well, he thinks this number should have been $20. I have it as 15. I'm sure it's fine. It's not going to be fine if I took the time to put the comment there. I'm telling you what I would be taking off credit for. So if you fix all my comments, like every suggestion that I make, then you could expect a perfect score. If you send me your spreadsheet for feedback and you see no comments, then it's perfect. But usually I'll put a comment saying it's perfect, so just kind of keep that stuff in mind. But for now, and I know I threw a lot at you,